Welcome to another episode of Hooked. My name's John Murray and I'm an angling addict, and today I'm doing a bit of hide fishing. Come down here to Rising Sun Fisheries at Aldwark, and really it's dead simple fishing. All we're doing is fishing maggot on a drop through rig. I've also got a deck rig should they drop down onto the bottom or the wind gets up. I mean, it's a pretty blustery day to be fair, and then I've got a shallow rig should they come up in the water. I'm feeding two lines, one out at 11 metres just with the maggot, and I'm fishing a line probably about 4 or 5 metres just down to my right hand side, away from the area that I'm netting fish down to my left with caster. If we get the fish coming in on caster, then hopefully we'll absolutely empty this fishery today. Remember guys, if you enjoy the videos, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode every time I upload one. Okay, let's see what we can do. Stay tuned. So the first rig we've got today is quite simply a 0.4 gram Drennan carp one float, and I am just fishing that strung out at depth. It's shotted with stots just in case we get some carp on. This is more of a carp rig. Those stots are spread out basically every 4 or 5 inches down the line, and then we're just going straight down to a size 18 barbless silverfish match hook at the moment. The deck rig is a Drennan carp 2 diamond shaped float, and that's just to combat the wind that we're experiencing. A bit of a crosswind, but it's not too bad on the pole today. That's shotted with a narrow grouped bulk of number 8 stots and a couple of stots just down to a size 18 silverfish barbless match hook once again. And the final rig I've got today is just one of these Drennan crystal dibbers, and basically that's just for fishing shallow up in the water, and if we get the caster and if we get the fish coming on caster, then we'll aim to slap on that and just fish banded caster, and that's onto a size 18 Drennan wide gate pellet hook. So single maggot on the hook, just fishing the drop through rig, trying to find a depth that these fish are feeding at the moment. I am fishing 11 metres out. There is no need to fish this far out, to be honest, but I wanted to separate the two lines, keep a short line for the caster and a long line for the maggot, and it just gives me somewhere to go should bites on the inside dry up. So I'm just concentrating on the long line at this moment in time, drawing a few fish into that area. Loose feeding maggot by catapult over the top. There's a fish. Small one. Tiny skimmer. Just building this caster line up on the inside. I think a lot of people just fish this with a deck rig straight down, but these fish are coming up in the water now. That fish took really quite shallow then. It's a decent fish. I'm not sure this is an IDE, this could be a carp. Carp on. Can't even see it, end of elastic. So it looks like I've just hooked into a carp as we were catching IDEs, just spraying maggots. Fish took shallow, so slapping rig might be the way to go. I've got matrix slick 8 to 10 elastic in, so it's not very strong for landing this kind of fish. And that pole is bending, but I'm just letting the elastic do the work. I'm not rushing it. Pointless me trying to bully this fish in. No idea what size it is. Can't even see the connector on the elastic. We've boiled up a few times. That's another one gone.
Oh my God.
But I've still got fish on. Told you I was on match kit.
Then you were going up short top kit.
Yeah. Told you I was on match kit. Just smashed the match kit up now. Yeah. I've broke it on fish. Yeah, fish is still on. This is problem. Oh, what a day. What a day. Kit's disintegrating in my hand. Hiya. Tell you what though. Come here. Bloody missed him. Ah, for God's sake. It's foul looked. Woo. Well, it's cost me a top kit, but we've got him. A calamity today. I've never broke so much stuff in one day. Yeah. Well, what an angry beast that was. No wonder he was angry. He was foul looked in peck, but we got him out. Lovely little common, beautiful fish. It's cost me some money, but hey ho, happy days. Let's get him back. Right guys, so I've tried down on the inside with caster and I can catch fish down there using the drop through rig. I haven't used the deck rig at all. I've still been feeding maggot out on the 11 metre line, but the fish have started to come up in the water. I foul looked a couple of eyed, so I thought I'd try the little slapping rig, but I've actually spaced the shots out a little bit more. So now I've put the depth at probably about 2 foot deep, but I've just spread those little number 8s out down the line. Now I can always tuck some of those up under the float if I want a slower fall, but I just put a banded caster on over the top of the maggot line, and I got a decent hide straight away. So I think what I'm going to do is start feeding caster out there now. That was a bite. We'll just keep laying in. I'm not slapping the rig at the moment. These fish are certainly coming up in the water for that banded caster. Oh, decent fish. Something angry just hooked itself. So elastic in this shallow kit is 13 Duraslip. It's probably a bit overpowered for hide fishing, but after having that carp on, I don't want to get caught out. These better fish are certainly coming in now. Another lovely hide. I didn't even feed then, just late rigging and it was on. These fish are certainly coming up in the water. Didn't even feed then, laid the rigging, fish was on. They are one heck of a stamp. Every fish, probably around half a pound. Another one. Got them competing now. Keep everything smooth, no need to rush. I think a lot of people here just fish short, but I think it's worth having two lines, just giving yourself somewhere to go if the fish move out. And I think a lot of people just fish on the deck as well, but with hide, once you get them competing, they can often come right up in the water. If they really start taking it, we could even slap for them. There we go, fish on, just fed in and that fish came in, they're coming up for the bait. Hooking themselves. Better fish this as well by the feel of it. Get on the rollers. Keep everything smooth. Oh, big boils on the surface. Yeah, half decent one this. Probably knocking on a pound. There we go, another fish. Just laying it in, leaving it there, and coming up searching for the food. It's a great way of fishing. Love catching hard shallow. Try and get a bit of bait out before we get a bite. So often that bait goes in, fish come in searching for it, and then boom, the float goes. That went, but we didn't hook into a fish then. And there you go, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that caster, so we can go straight back out on it. What is it? Cat? It says gimme, gimme, gimme. He's not shy, is he?
I have got some meat.
You'll not get rid of him, he'll be sat on your knee for the rest of the day. Just lip hooked. Oh! My hand's wet. that's probably the best eye of the day. Lovely fat fish, shallow. Yeah, chunky fish. Feeding into my left and another fish on. We're emptying it. Keep that bait going in little and often. Pretty much just let these fish hook themselves. That's another one on. Ah, come off that one. We can go straight back out though, because we're on the banded caster. Fish on. They ain't half angry when you hook them shallow, aren't they? Right guys, I've just come off the shallow rig because I was just starting to struggle a little bit to get a bite on it. The weather's changed slightly. The wind's sort of coming over my back and it's a little bit colder now. So I've just dropped back down on the deck. There's still plenty of fish out there. And I've gone back on the maggot on the drop through rig at this moment in time. Oh, bumped out of that one. If the bites continue on the bottom, I may just go onto the positive rig, see if we can catch a little bit quicker on that, just get the bait down. There are still fish taking on the drop though. That was a bite on the drop. So if we just keep feeding, we may get them back up in the water yet. I think there's plenty on the deck and plenty coming up as well. So can probably catch them at all levels at this moment in time. It's about 5 foot deep out there. Controlling the rig's fairly simple. Not having too much trouble with the wind on the pole. There was another bite on the drop on the way down, so we are still getting these bites. If I start foul looking fish, I'll definitely come back up shallow. Just keep the bait going in. Right, we're just getting a few missed bites now. Still got this inside line down here as well. Just started to feed heavier, just to get some bait down on the bottom. Right, I don't know why we're missing bites now. So counting this down, keeping it on a tight line and just watching the float tip straighten out. So as the arc comes through the water, it's nearly down the bottom that, and then it's gone. So they're taking it probably in the last foot of water right now. the last sort of dropper just isn't quite registering before the bite comes. That's another bite. Finally we've hooked it, but these are small fish. That was a small fish, that. So maybe the bigger ones are sitting above them still. We'll just feed in a couple more times. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come off this drop through rig, try the bulked rig, so we'll just drop on the bulk. We've got probably the last 15 inches of this bulk rig where it'll give a slow drop anyway. See if that slightly more positive setup makes a difference. Oh, it's gone. It's pretty much straight away that had gone. I think something actually grabbed that on the way down, even with the bulk. So it tells me they are still sitting shallow. It's lying on the surface, that. Very odd, considering it's a ½ gram bulked rig. There we go, it's finally settled and it's gone. Small fish though. I'm not sure where the bigger ones have gone right now. So that was on maggot. We'll go back on caster. Well, I think I've got a lot of small fish moved in. Getting loads of unhittable bites now.
Yeah, I'll get there earlier. You got hit him.
Lots of small fish. The eyes seem to have moved out. Well, the bigger ones anyway. Right, I'm going to come back up shallow. That's a rudd. But no, before we go back up shallow, I'm going to have a look on this inside line. There we go. There's fish sat in short as well. These bites aren't always hittable. Rig goes down quite slowly actually. It's nice to read with the banded tips on these carp 2s. The bites are absolutely sailing away as it gets down towards the bottom, but not hittable, a lot of these. When they go, they go. Great big boils. Really are a cracking stamp, these fish. Right, I'm gonna go back out long on the bulked rig. Put a caster back on and just see if we can tempt anything. She's gone. Small fish though. Yeah, they've gone off the boil long. Lots of small fish on there, unhittable bites. So unless we shallow up and see if they come back up shallow. Right, come on. So just try and shallow again. So if there's nothing shallow, we'll come down and focus on this inside line. There we go. Fish on shallow. Decent fish as well. So it just goes to show, I think those IDE have moved up the bottom. They're coming up, intercepting the bait, and out competing the smaller fish which are underneath, mopping up the scraps. Another clonking fish. I mean, we're not seeing these fish come up in the water. You're having to figure out exactly where they are by fishing through it. So they're not giving themselves away on the surface. Just keep attracting them in, putting some caster over the top of the float. Little and often. So the wind's getting up a bit wild now. Probably wise just to fish down the inside for a bit, really try and focus on this line. Get a lot of fish out in the last hour or two. There we go. They are getting a little bit more fickle. Decent fish this. I'm just starting to bury the hook in the caster now. So these fish getting a little bit more wary. So nothing visible there whatsoever. Right, I've gone out long again on the bulked rig, fishing the caster. I've had 3 IDE on the bounce, so we'll see if we can make it 4. This fish seems to have sat down on the bottom again. We've possibly got rid of the smaller fish now. Getting a lot of unhittable bites on the inside, but the outside, the decent fish seem to have returned. So it just goes to show how important it is having different rigs set up for this kind of fishing. Even though you're only loose feeding and everything's relatively simple shotting, light floats, It pays to switch around two lines and fishing with different styles of presentation. There we go. Looked like that fish took on the drop then. Just laid back in, and so they are moving between the depths. Right, let's chip this bad boy out, cue the music, time for a montage. Boom, on the drop. Fish was on before it settled. Time to go back shallow. Lovely, lovely herd. Fish on. Oh, that's a beauty. Yeah, good pound. So I've just worked the different lines. I'm now back on the drop through rig out on the long line, which is the rig we started off on this morning, and seems to be catching on the bottom. Back on caster. When you start getting the bites up in the water, it's time to switch on to the shallow rig, take a few out on that, and then they seem to spook off, and then occasionally trying the inside line just as a backup line really. But it's been fantastic fishing for early spring, March. It's always a great time for hide fishing. The Hide of March. Another fish on. That fish took on the drop. So potentially it's time to come back up in the water a little bit. The drop through rig works really well actually. You know, it's a good go between the bulk rig and the shallow rig. And it helps you find where the fish are. Lovely. Right guys, I'm going to fish this out for about another half an hour and we'll get the fish out and we'll see what we've had. Moment of truth. I think this is the lighter of the two nets. Well, we've not got a bad unit there. Probably. Ooh. Let's have a look. There's probably a good 20-25 pound of fish in there. A few scapies, some clonking hide. I'll tip these ones back and I'll get the other net out. Oh, that's a lot heavier.
Yeah, there's a bigger net.
Really difficult to show you all these fish. But yeah, cracking days fishing.
Right net.
Thanks for watching guys, and until the next one, take lines.